Hello everyone and welcome back to FinTech Festival India Mumbai Micro Experience. Now, cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, Ethereum has grown in popularity in India and other countries across the world. With the volume of Indian rupees traded in cryptocurrency at an all-time high since demonetization, according to a research, the volume created by the rupee-dominated cryptocurrency is the third largest traded volume behind the US dollar and the yen. In 2016, demonetization program may have boosted the adoption of cryptocurrencies by a significant portion of the populace, but realities quickly emerged that have hindered the country's market growth, despite its massive population. India only contributes 2% to the global crypto market. But with the recent movements in the market and the government corridors, what is the future of cryptocurrencies in India? Let's find out in this panel, which is moderated by Mr. Baldeep Singh Pava, General Manager and Country Head of Constellar Exhibitions India. He's joined by Mr. Ashish Singhal, Chief Executive Officer of CoinSwitch Kuber, who is also joined by Mr. Vikas Ahuja, Chief Executive Officer of Cross Tower India, and Mr. Mrityunjay Mahapatra, who's an author, a public speaker, a digital leader, senior banker, as well as an independent consultant. And completing this panel with us today is Mr. Saugata Bhattacharya, Executive Vice President and Chief Economist of Axis Bank. Over to you, Baldeep. The stage is all yours.
Thank you so much, Amit. Thank you. Thanks a lot. A warm welcome to the audience who's joining us live. And I won't hold you from listening to the much awaited, on the much awaited subject, the cryptocurrencies. And I'll straight away, just to begin with and setting the context, I'll straight away talk about the chaos theory that we are witnessing today. Often, we've seen that a businessman in the United States tweets about the cryptocurrency and says it's fantastic, it's the future. And then the cryptocurrency market soars like a spaceship. And one fine day, there's another businessman in the United States, comes on the TV and says it's a scam. And then what happens next is the crypto market just tanks like the house of cards. In the Indian context, we have seen a 25-year-old boy in our Silicon Valley in Bangalore tries to siphon off 9 crores of rupees from the government treasury. And that sends shivers that concerns our government. So there's so much of chaos, but very little clarity. So I'm going to be opening my panel today by asking this question to all my panelists. What is crypto? Is it an investment class, or is it part of the money, or what could it be? So over to you, Mr. Bhattacharya, for your opening remarks, and then we will hear from Mr. Mahapatra as to what he thinks about it.
Thank you, Baldeep Saab. Great pleasure, privilege to be part of this panel. Thank you for this opportunity. Let me start by reminding the audience that you remember that Satoshi Nakamoto's white paper on Bitcoin was published 31st October 2008. Coincidentally or otherwise, this was just about 3 months after the Federal Reserve Bank and other central banks opened the taps, the liquidity taps, post the global financial crisis. So there was concern amongst a lot of people on the debasement of fiat money, fiat currencies, coincidence or otherwise. So that was the start of this current saga. Are cryptos and alternative investment class, speculative investment class? Of course they are. Just like oil, copper, gold, equities, the thing that comes to mind, closest to mind, is are derivatives, financial derivatives, particularly complex derivatives, the ones that brought about the global financial crisis. So cryptos have definitely emerged as a very large alternative investment class. But remember, SEBI just recently, 10 days back, approved the first ETF for investment in crypto firms, a mutual fund for investment in crypto firms. To conclude, just remember that current cryptos all over the world are 2.6x Tesla's market cap. And Tesla's market cap itself is larger than the next 10 automobile companies in the world. Just to show you, give you a flavor of the size of this alternative investment class that is developed.
Great, thank you so much. That's pretty insightful. Over to you, Mr. Mahapatra. What are your thoughts? What would be your opening remarks on this?
Thank you. I think to understand what crypto is, we philosophically tell that first understand what it is not. What it is not is probably comparing it with a regular currency in the shape and size that all of us have known it to be. Is definitely it is not a regular currency where you can touch it, you can feel it, you can smell it, you can put it below your pillows and be assured that you have something left in you. Whether it is a store of value, I think our esteemed Saugataji will agree with me. So far, it is not fully established that one of the main characteristics of money being a store of value. So cryptocurrency definitely has not established whether it is a store of value if it fluctuates as much as it is doing today. Whether it is a medium of exchange, probably that is what it is intended to be. It is not fully a medium of exchange where you can do it, but definitely you just have to think that it is like, let us say, the hunt for the gold in the West. You invest a lot in the mining equipment, you go out and search for it in order to own it, or you pay a regular currency to own it. So acquiring a cryptocurrency, either you will have to go through a regular currency or have to go and crack those algorithms and mine it, because it is all there in the system and it is being done. So first is that in order to make common people appreciate what is crypto, we must educate them what it is not. Otherwise, that comparison never stops, and disappointment, misery, and disillusionment comes, making market very tumultuous. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Those are really beautiful points that you've made, Mr. Mohapatra. And I do have follow-up questions, but please be around. I'm going to turn to Ashish and then Vikas. Ashish, you've come up with such a beautiful idea, the beautiful infrastructure, CoinSwitch, one of the largest exchanges today. What are your thoughts? Why did you come up with this exchange? What did you see happening in India?
Sure. So let me start by stepping back, right? So first answer the question, what is crypto? So crypto and blockchain, what they're trying to solve, they're beyond a currency, beyond an asset class, and I'll explain why that is the case, right? Crypto enables to transact between two users without the need of a third party. Today, if I need to transfer you money, we both trust Paytm. I transfer to Paytm, and then Paytm transfers to you. Yeah. Now, Paytm is the enabler of any transaction. And as individuals, we might not trust each other, but we had to trust Paytm with our money, right? What blockchain solves, or what crypto solves, is enabling trust between you and me without actually establishing a trust. Okay. With the network, the software itself can establish mathematical rules to transfer money from me to you without the need of any third party. It started as a currency, like we discussed after the financial crash itself, but it evolved much more beyond that. Okay. Today we have hundreds of cryptocurrencies solving different use cases altogether, coming to Ethereum, which is building the AWS of the world itself. Yes. So the use cases itself has much beyond the currency, and today what crypto and blockchain offers is the new internet itself. It might be too much of a stretch at this point, but maybe 5 years down the line, you would see companies forming, not hosting on AWS, but hosting on Ethereum itself, right? So as an asset class, it has gone much beyond. It has become a utility commodity in itself, and that is where CoinSwitch comes into picture, which enables user to invest in these different cryptocurrencies, solving different use cases all around the world.
Okay, great. So let's hear from Vikas. Vikas, you come from, your holding company is in the United States. What difference have you seen in India and the US as to how cryptocurrency and the end users are behaving in the West versus what we are witnessing here in India today?
Sure. And firstly, it's a pleasure speaking on this panel and really, privileged to be here. So let me also first answer the first part of the question, Baldi, which was what is crypto? So let us understand first, blockchain is the underlying technology here, and crypto is just one application of that technology, right? I want to take the audience a few years back. Cut to 1995. Internet was launched. When internet was launched, we were the net consumers of data.
Right.
Few years down the line, we see 2004, the Google has been launched, Facebook has been launched, and now we are actually the users of the products instead of the data usage. This is how the technology has transitioned in just a span of few years, right? What we call crypto is a decentralized ledger. No central authority has a control over it. That is the beauty of this technology. It has an amazing number of use cases, and what people say here is Bitcoin, traditional terms, is compared to gold, and ETH is probably the crude oil of today,
Okay.
right? Also, what we have seen in the terms of evolution, while we started with Bitcoin and ETH, and while we are talking, the new blockchains have evolved. Solana is sweeping. There's a new startup company in Bangalore, which I just heard, they have got an investment up to, I think, $3 billion, and Elon Musk has invested there, Polkadot, and that's how the technology is evolving, right? Coming back to your second part of the question, yes, we are a US-based exchange launching our operations in India. US is a extremely regulated entity, and that's where our strength lies. So we come to India with a lot of regulatory and compliance controls. India we see as a big market, is still evolving. It's a very nascent stage. So we really want to plug in our regulatory experience and leverage our strengths and evolve here.
Got it. Do you think India is where US is right now, or do you think we are behind?
Definitely not.
Okay.
We are, India is what probably US, what we've seen in 2015.
Got it.
But the positive thing is that the awareness has started happening. We are reaching there.
Yes, I'm sure. Okay. Thank you, and I will come back. I do have follow-up questions for you as well. But Mr. Mohapatra made a very beautiful point. What is it not? That's what we need to educate our customers. So the two gentlemen who are joining us virtually, they understand money very, very well. So, Mr. Mohapatra, I'll start with you. What do you think is the intrinsic value of these cryptocurrencies if they work on a demand and supply function? And what, according to you, are the concerns from the government side?
Well, intrinsic value is something which, as you rightly told, is a function of demand and supply. And because there is a limited number, which is now probably there is close to 2,000 cryptocurrencies which are floating in the market. Bitcoin and Ethereum, as the panelists told, are probably the leading ones. But the beauty of it is that it is limited. So depending on the demand of it, the eagerness with which investors would like to earn it, the intrinsic value store, and as and when the use cases will multiply, if you find something more useful and more required, then you are willing to pay it, like the life-saving medicine that we saw during pandemic. People were willing to pay tens of lakhs of rupees for getting a cocktail or for getting a plasma technology. So depending on the assessment of requirement, this value proposition will vary or it will come down. But the second part, why government is worried? The government is worried that we are a developing economy. For the US government, which is where the greenback is the ultimate store of value and ultimate store of exchange and ultimate of any currency that people want, only a $2 trillion difference, it will not make such a great difference. But in a developing economy where a lot of people are getting to first generation richness or first generation wealth, if there is a systemic dent because regulators were found to be sleeping on the wheel or policymakers were not aware about the intricacies, then it is likely to create ripples across the political and social economy apart from the real economy. Second, why they are worried is that some of the infrastructure, I think one of the panelists referred to the trust part of it. Apart from the Paytm example, Paytm is probably providing the platform. But even to this date, I have not seen any discussion where the clearing and settlement mechanism, which is completely managed by the banking system, is being replaced even by any fintech or any neobank or any payment bank or anybody.
Fair.
Because payment and settlement infrastructure forms the backbone of an economy.
Yes.
If there is even a slightest dent in it, then trade and commerce will collapse. So systemic risk, the psychological risk of denting the political stability and social stability because of economic instability, even if it is the minutest, these are creating, concerns in the mind of policymakers.
Okay, so what do you think is the government going to do? Is it going to regulate innovation now? Is it going to regulate technology? What do you think is government's next step is going to be? I know we don't have insights, but in your opinion, your individual independent opinion, what do you think is the government's next move's going to be?
No, I have been in multiple, committees of the government as well as Reserve Bank of India. The considered view of the government as well as Reserve Bank of India has been that regulation should not thwart or should not throttle innovation. So that part is sure. But only thing is that whether the innovation will happen in the regulated ecosystem or in a federated ecosystem. That is the debate, because what has happened, for example, if you'll see 2 years back, Reserve Bank of India brought that regulatory sandbox.
Yes.
Because data colonization by, the regular names, and because of the lazy consent that has been obtained from you want a free app, so you say, yes, please access my phone book. You want a free app, so you say, you please access my call record. So lazy consent and, data colonization when data rules were not there, those have become great concerns. So government, I think, in my personal view, will allow some play, some elbow room for innovation to take place. But in my view, it will be a calibrated release of the innovative and creative forces rather than, making it open straight away. This is what I am reading on the walls.
Great, and we all hope that's how it is going to be for the fintech ecosystem. Moving on to you, Mr. Bhattacharya, what do you think are the real concerns from the government? You're a banker, you're an economist. What, in your opinion, is really bothering the government today?
Look at the sequence. So you remember we said that because of fears of debasement, the design of Bitcoin was designed to limit supply, right? So precisely because of that, with swings in demand, as Mr. Mahapatra has so comprehensively discussed, because of the swings in demand, created this huge volatility in the original design of the cryptocurrencies. So hence came in the stable coins. So because of the stable coins, I mean, they are pegged to an anchor, say the dollar or whatever. So because of that, it's now, I mean, the volatility has come down. It's become more suitable as a store of value, as a measure of exchange, right? I mean, which are the characteristics of money. And this is precisely the problem. Because now what happens if over time, these stable coin type cryptocurrencies evolve from speculative assets, which they are largely now, to more viable mediums of exchange, which is a key characteristic of money. Imagine the issues that will come about with particularly the loss of policy control. Remember the phenomenon from an economics point of view, the phenomenon of dollarization. All the Latin American countries during their high hyperinflation stage had pegged their currencies to the US dollar. So effectively, they had ceded control to the US Fed in terms of their ability to manage the economy. Here, in this case, in this particular phase of so-called dollarization of the national currencies, this is a vast, as we learned, vast decentralized system. Nobody knows how to control this. So obviously, this is one of the key pillars which is informing the government. In terms of innovation, look, as we have all heard, the technology exists. The technology is there. It's a matter of creating an orderly evolution of the architectures, of the protocols in which this particular innovation is best designed to operate. Sorry about that, went on.
No, great, great. I think Ashish, you heard some of these concerns, and I would like to add in here. You know, just like there are good use cases, there would be some bad use cases as well, right? So, what do you think? Are these concerns genuine? What the government is pointing out? You know, how do you think exchanges like you can help both the investor, which is your end user, and the government as well?
No, that's absolutely correct, right? So these are valid concerns. Now, say, be it, terror financing, money laundering, it could be used for illicit activities in itself, but not regulating exchanges is not the solution. Because if you don't regulate, then it goes to the dark side. It goes to the other market where P2P transactions can still happen. But regulating exchanges could be a way out, like other countries have done as well, right? Where travel rule applies. Whenever somebody is transferring you crypto, you need to ask where this crypto originated, what is the source of income to buy this crypto, and reporting to the RBI or to the regulatory authority, giving clarity where the money is going, where this money is coming from, right? And exchanges play a key role in this reporting structure itself, creating rules around who can buy, what you can buy, creating education about different use cases, even listing coins. There are thousands of currencies out there, right? Exchanges like us do not list all of them. We have a listing procedure through which only we have listed about 80 currencies overall, which we feel are the right investment for our users. So investor protection is one of the other concerns that government should definitely look into by bringing right regulations which are progressive for innovation to happen in the space, but still making sure that the monetary stability, which other panelists so eloquently talked about, is maintained and is reported to the government itself.
Okay, so the message that you're passing on today is that yes, these concerns are valid, but we need to work hand in hand with the government. Okay, so we cannot and we should not and we must not keep our eyes shut. So Vikas, is it pretty much the same in your exchange as well? Do you also have entry parameters for these currencies? Like Ashish said, they only have 80. There are so many that exist, but he only has 80. Is that the same with your exchange?
Absolutely, Baldeep. This goes without saying that it's imperative that we have all these kind of entry barriers and the verification checks before we onboard any new user. So we have stringent KYC checks, we have stringent AML checks, and being a US regulated entity, we have gone a step ahead and we do a lot of sanction screening. So what that essentially means is if somebody comes on the exchange and for example, if you're a person who was banned, we scan his name against 1700 list globally to make sure that person is comes from a clean background. And that's how we kind of let him trade on the exchange. Add to it, in terms of the government concerns, what we were just discussing, let us review what's happening outside India. China, we all know they recently banned cryptocurrency. Yes. They banned mining operations. What happened? Has crypto died down? No. Crypto has evolved. The mining operations have moved from China to US. And in a major way now. China tries to regulate the technology. They have come out a rule where anybody who's viewing a gaming app for more than 2 hours is not allowed. They don't allow Google, they don't allow Amazon's, Facebook's and all. But the companies still flourished.
Yeah.
Right? So banning a technology is not the solution.
True.
On the other side, countries like US, UK, you name the country, Australia, Canada, Japan, they're not only embracing this technology, they're investing millions into it. So, we need to regulate. Definitely, I agree with the panelist here. That's the solution. And also the tokens, we are very selective when we list token. So we research the financial background, we go the in-depth analysis, and once we are totally satisfied, then only we list the token.
Okay, great. Mr. Mohapatra, I'm going to come back to you. We've heard what the exchanges are ready to do today. They're ready to work with the government. But I still see there is a lot of bad-mouthing happening around the cryptocurrencies and the crypto market. That's my question one. And then question two is, we've seen what China is doing. And we've seen what US and the other Western countries are doing. where is India going to strike a chord in between US and China? Are we going to do what China is doing, or are we going to follow what US is doing, or are we going to have our own methodology?
Okay, I think rather than be political about it, that what we are going to do, this is a call by the policymakers. I think some basic questions we need to understand. Anything new to be popular or embraced by the citizens as a whole, what we need to understand is that end-to-end understanding must be at a higher level as compared to what it is now. First thing is that Bitcoins or Ethereum or any kind of crypto operate on a blockchain technology. Now, currently, all the blockchain computing and blockchain servers are located outside of India. Because I was myself a part of building a consortium where we have a blockchain computing platform in India and consortium of bankers along with 2 or 3 leading names in India. It didn't make much headway. So what we have seen is that the blockchain use cases, to my knowledge, which may be a little contrarian to what my co-panelists are telling, which started with trade finance, it went to smart contracts, and it went to some other such other use cases, has not made much of a headway even in the developed countries. Because I met some of the blockchain founders, and I found that they are betting on a long-term future. So first is popularizing the concept of smart ledger. What are the use cases? What is hashing, dehashing, how it happens? Because people would like to bet on something which is rational, which is comparable to what they know. So this is the first thing that India needs to do without going in the way, because in innovation and experimentation, we call something which is very popular in my speeches, at least I tell, late mover advantage. We have the benefits of the failures and the pitfalls of the people who went first. And we need to popularize what went wrong and what we are doing to prevent it. Second, as I told, we will have to be calibrated. We are a developing economy, and we are not, the system cannot probably withstand, whoever is the investor, even if they are investing today 10,000 crore rupees, if they lose 5,000 crore rupees for 1/10 of that amount, Reserve Bank of India has folded up banks and have transferred ownership. So given our DNA, it is not acceptable. So we must be calibrated. We must popularize the details of the value proposition and the underlying technology. Then probably we'll be ready to approach the inflection point. That is my view.
Great. So I'm going to take that statement from Mr. Mohapatra where he says we've got the late mover advantage. Mr. Bhattacharya, linking this statement, if you were to just not wear your economist hat and wear the banker's hat, what is the banker's opinion on these cryptocurrencies today?
Obviously, this is a big risk for banks. Remember that globally, I mean, we were talking about China, the US Federal Reserve has made very strong comments, by the way, against cryptocurrencies. So please keep that in mind. Other than that, I mean, now as an alternative to completely unregulated Wild West, which is not, I mean, I'm just saying, I'm giving an extreme case, on the Wild West type of cryptocurrencies, there is this whole phenomenon of central bank digital currencies, where central banks have an element of control on the overall spread. From a central banker's perspective, not just from a bank's perspective, and from a bank's perspective, from a central bank digital currency. Imagine for the banks, the first thing is that a loss of deposits. So if a central bank begins to offer an alternative to the cryptocurrencies, their own digital currencies, there is a clear incentive for depositors to shift from bank deposits on into the central bank, because the central bank is fail-safe. I mean, the central bank does not fail. There is a credit risk for a bank. There is a possibility of a bank failing, as we have seen in India in a couple of cases. So this definitely first disables banks from its main role, which is the role of creating credit. The role of a bank, the reason for a bank existing is the ability to create credit. If there are no deposits for a bank to create credit, this becomes a problem for a bank. For a bank as well, if there is a stress on a bank, as will inevitably happen over a period of time, however good the controls, however good the regulation. Now, with digital currencies, there is now an element for a bank run to become more exaggerated than what would be warranted in a stress scenario. There are multiple other things for a bank in terms of the need for branches. What is the need for branches if there is a central digital currency, a retail digital currency, etc. So from a banker's perspective, and remember, banks are the key intermediaries in this entire money chain, So obviously, I mean, if an environment of cryptocurrencies, including global central bank digital currencies, if that begins to evolve, there are multiple implications for banks. Some good, some bad, but I mean, they need to be aware and they need to design the systems in place for this oncoming technological shift.
Great. I think so. You've got a long road ahead, Ashish and Vikas. Not only the government, you've got to work with the banks as well in the future.
No, absolutely. And you know what the panelists said about CBDC is absolutely correct. But we have to, and I want to address the late boomers part as well. And probably I'll give an answer which probably address both of these together. Today, what we are saying is that crypto goes beyond currency. And when it comes to currency, we totally understand that CBDC is actually a right solution, right? And we are with the RBI bank, on that, right? Today, our money is not digital. If I transfer you money through UPI and it fails, it takes 7 days to get the money back. Because banks has to do manual reconciliation on the back end, although it may feel digital, but it's not digital, right? And what CBDC provide is a real-time reconciliation across and clarity in the system. So CBDC is the right solution for money. But what we are talking about here, why can't we not be the late boomers in this? We already missed the bus on Internet 1.0. Today, any business starting up has to host on Amazon or Google, has to use Facebook or Google for distribution, has to use Twitter for distribution. Today, 70% of our revenues goes to these companies as the business start today. So we are the net importer of technology. Today, we import over $10 billion of this technology every single year, expected to grow to about $25 to $30 billion in the next 4 years itself.
Wow.
What crypto, on the other hand, gives us that tomorrow's hosting should not happen on Amazon, should happen on the blockchain itself, which not only give you scaling, but also give you data security, data protection, data localization by default. So any business which would start to happen in the next 5 years may happen on crypto itself, may happen on blockchain itself. And that is why this technology is so revolutionary. India participating and building it early can become the net exporter of technology in the next 10 years.
That's who we want to be.
That's who we want to be. We want to build companies which are global. Tomorrow's anyone in the Western world trying to host an Ethereum contract India should get the value of that if we build those networks which can become revolutionary in the future. So that is why we cannot miss out on this revolution itself by relating it to the currency aspect. We all understand, and we have discussed in this panel multiple times as well, that this currency is just one use case of a crypto ecosystem. CBDCs, which are under the RBI purview, probably is the right solution to solve and digitize our currency and still have sovereign control over it. But that doesn't restrict us to build something amazing. Build the next Google, the next Facebook, the next Microsoft within India, from India, and built on blockchain and Google. That is why we cannot be the latecomers this time. This time we need to lead from the front, right? No matter what happens, this technology is something which is innovative, and we hopefully don't want to miss out in the next internet itself.
Great. I really find this so motivational. It is indeed motivational. Thanks, Ashish. In the interest of time, I'm going to be taking a few questions. I know there are a lot of questions pouring in right now. This is hot topic, and this is indeed the right time to be discussing this when we see the headlines, giving us a different picture. But okay, so I'm going to be posing my first question. I'm going to give this to you, Vikas. How can you mitigate the risks associated with the cryptocurrencies and cross-border transactions? You've seen both sides of the world, US and India. So how do you think we can mitigate the risk that are associated with the cryptocurrencies and the cross-border transactions?
Sure, it's a very good question, Baleep. And, as an exchanges, we are already working on mitigating this risk. So we have a complete audit trail. We have a complete blockchain technology. You can actually, go back to n number of transactions from the sender to the remitter. We are making sure that's being recorded in the systems. We are making sure all the KYCs, like I mentioned earlier, the AML, the sanction screenings are done. All the details are recorded. And, just to add here, crypto, actually, we should start calling it, instead of currencies, digital asset, right? And secondly, what I feel, this will eventually is going to form a e-commerce platform, a new payment platform for the global world. And this, we've started calling it as Web 3.0 now.
Yes.
This is going to Web 3.0. So on exchanges, we are working together, and we really, we agree that, we need to work together with the government here, address the banking concerns, and make sure that all the risks are mitigated, and we are ready to, work hand in hand and, resolve those issues.
Okay, Ashish, what do you think? I mean, yes, you're doing all of this, and yet we see some frauds or, some mischievous activities still take place. How do you plan to identify these and report it back to the government as and when they require this?
I think these financial frauds can happen in the traditional finance as well. It's not that we have shut down the banks and said, oh, because these fraud happen, we'll not do anything about it.
Yeah.
What we have done is we have set out a set of laws, rules and regulations which bank follow, of a dedicated reporting to maybe FIU, to the bank authority itself, to the RBI itself, right? And I think those need to happen much more in this space. Once this industry is regulated, set of defined rules, the source of income, the source of cryptocurrencies, where you are withdrawing the currency to, travel rule should apply. Even if it's going outside India, every exchange that is going to should be part of that ecosystem. Not only we need to build our local laws, but we need to contribute toward building a global ecosystem in itself, working with different governments, forming and creating this technology what it can be, rather than worrying about what it shouldn't be. We should definitely worry about it and put rules and restrictions to avoid the cons, but we should also look at what it has to offer and be progressive and allow innovation to happen in this space.
Sure, good. I hope that answers the question that the audience has asked. My next question, Mr. Mohapatra, I'm going to pose this to you. Crypto, RBI seems to be against the cryptocurrency from the beginning. And I think this is basis the statements that have come in the media. Is that because they think cryptocurrency is bad for the economy, or are the banks simply afraid of cryptocurrencies? So that's a pretty brave question. Mr. Mohapatra, would you like to answer?
Okay, I'll make a try. First is that, as compared to other platforms which are used for exchange of value or storage of value or deposit of value, like the banks or the stock exchanges, where RBI or any regulator has three critical things. One is the entry barriers, so that for example, for a bank, you must have thousands of crores of capital to set it up. Second is the supervisory framework. How people will go inspect and assure to the stakeholders, yes, there is nothing wrong going on. Third, of course, is the cross-border aspect of it. Now, RBI is the custodian of the foreign exchange of the country. Whatever happens, the others may do the rupee bit of it, but ultimately, Reserve Bank of India is the gatekeeper for the foreign exchange. They intervene, they do all those things. So all these three, the Reserve Bank of India's apprehension regarding cryptocurrency is emanating because all these three in some way or the other is not getting translated into the crypto world. And the discovery process is taking a longer time. That cryptocurrency is good as over a platform which is very benign, which has a lot of potential, such as cloud, because I am also witness to cloud adoption being viewed with a lot of cynicism in the beginning. Even in fact, it took me many trips and many discussions with the Reserve Bank of India for doing a small adoption of the cloud in State Bank of India. So I think it is not if, it is when that this will happen.
Okay, great. In interest of time, I know we all have a hard stop. I'm going to be taking this last question. Probably, Ashish, you would like to answer this. If, okay, so this is a hypothetical situation. If the government was to place a blanket ban on crypto, wow, okay. What is protecting the investors who have already invested their money in crypto? So what's your take on this?
So we believe that government do understand that over $6 billion worth those cryptos which are invested in is now worth over $6 billion, and government do understand there are millions and millions of people who have put their hard-earned money into it. These are young youth, Gen Z population who believe in this tech, who see this as the future itself, right? And they want to participate in the economy through this investment. So we definitely believe that whatever bill that comes out, and through our discussions as well, which are very positive in nature, they do understand the concerns on crypto. They do understand what are the benefits of crypto as well. So I would say that the ban may, it's very unlikely that a blanket ban would be put in. Even in such scenarios, government would take care of the users who have put their earned money into the ecosystem and create a way for a graceful period in which a transition could be set up.
Great. I hope that puts all of us at ease, whosoever has invested into this. And with this, I would like to thank all the panelists. It has been an awesome discussion, insightful. This is thought-provoking, and this is not over yet. I think we're going to be continuing this on the main stage when we bring in the mega event, the FinTech Festival India, in March 2022 in New Delhi. So watch out for that. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks, all the panelists. Over to you, Amit.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Baldeep, and thanks, Ashish. Thanks, Vikas, Mr. Mahapatra, as well as Mr. Bhattacharya. This has been a wonderful and informative conversation, and as Baldeep said, this is not going to be over yet. This is going to, resound in the walls for a long time.
Thank you very
$100
much.
में बिटकॉइन ट्रेडिंग
पॉसिबल है
इम्पॉसिबल
लगी शर्त और हारा तो It's possible on CoinSwitch Kuber. Download करो और बिटकॉइन में ट्रेडिंग स्टार्ट. CoinSwitch Kuber, सिक्का चमकेगा.
Cryptocurrency is an unregulated digital asset, not a legal tender, and subject to market risks and price fluctuation risks.
Where there is life, there is hope, there is meaning. But life has its downs as much as its ups. Life is about challenges. Life is about opportunities. Time for joy, time for celebration, and time to introspect. Thankfully, in every one of life's moments, and even beyond life itself, there's LIC. Where there is life, there's always LIC. Zindagi ke saath bhi, zindagi ke baad bhi.